Hi, my name is Marie Roberts, and I'm a native of Southern Brooklyn. And Stacy Vuderis of Deno's Wonder Wheel Park asked if I would invite you into my virtual studio and share a little bit of my history and my family's history and our love of the Wonder Wheel in honor of its 100th anniversary. I'm a painter, and if you've been to Coney Island in the last 20 or so years, you've seen my paintings on the corner of West 12th Street and Surf Avenue. I'm artist in residence at Coney Island USA, or the home of the Mermaid Parade and the Sideshow. I kind of feel like I fell into this from the ghosts of my family's history. My grandfather, Lester Augustus Roberts, was a member of the Brooklyn Fire Department. He joined in 1885, and about 1890 he moved the family from Red Hook to the Gravesend area. He became captain of Engine Company 254 in Gravesend, and eventually became acting battalion chief of the Coney Island District. He never wanted the title of battalion chief because he wanted to have the flexibility of being stationed close to home so he could go home for lunch and dinner. My grandfather died in 1924 when he was putting out a fire in the Miriam Theater on Coney Island Avenue and Avenue O. He had five children that lived, and it was the two oldest of those sons, my Uncle Guy on the left-hand side and my Uncle Harry on the right, who became electricians and were working in Hellgate the night of the Dreamland fire. Dreamland was the amusement park that burned to the ground, and I just wonder how close these two angelic looking boys were to the cigarette that met with the hot tar that ignited the structure of Hellgate. I guess we'll never know, but their account was that was the reason the park burned down. Their younger brother, Lester, who was born in 1898, was named after his father, my grandfather, and he became, among other things, the outside talker for the Dreamland Circus Sideshow. When Dreamland burned to the ground, the people who worked in the freak show regrouped under Samuel Gumpertz and became the Dreamland Circus Sideshow. And if you think about it for a minute, this was an opportunity for people to work and make a living. People who perhaps could not have the opportunity to work in 1920 like they could today. So Lester worked in Coney Island during the seasons and traveled with the sideshow around the United States and throughout Cuba in the 20s. Lester was one of these larger than life figures. He talked a great deal. He was never boring. And there was something magnetic about him. And if you think about it, the outside talker is the one who gets you to forget about the smells of the food and the clatter of the rides and the screaming joy of the children and the sea breezes and gets you to buy a ticket to come into the show. The room where I'm speaking to you today was the room where the Baron Pouchy, who you see on screen, Lionel the Lion-Faced Man, and other members of the cast of that show stayed when they weren't working. This slide is a group photo of one of the casts, just being people on their way out to dinner. This is the entrance to the Dreamland Circus Sideshow, and the person in the box is my father, the youngest of all the sons. But I'll get back to him in a second. One of Lester's side gigs was snake oil. He made and sold a product called the Bitter Wonder. It had nothing harmful in it, but I never tried it. The family said, don't try it. The youngest of the brothers, the only one who was born in the 20th century, was my father, Kenneth. And Kenneth was more in love with the horses at the racetracks. Brooklyn had 3 racetracks back then, the Gravesend, the Manhattan Beach, and the Sheepshead Bay. And I think his love for animals really informed me. There's no way I can drink my coffee before all the animals in the house have been fed, watered, cleaned, etc. I kind of ran away from all this history because I wanted something different. I became a painter, and then in 1997, I had met Dick Zigan, and as artistic director of Coney Island, USA, he needed banners for the building they moved to in 96, the present-day Coney Island, USA building. And I thought, I gave it a try with my students, and I just totally fell in love with the whole genre of banner painting. It seemed to unite both halves of my life, the academic that I kind of fought for, and the family, the lore. So this slide up on the screen is an homage to the stars of the Dreamland Circus sideshow in the 1920s, when they were hanging out with glasses of wine, just being people. The second mural I did for the Coney Art Walls project was an homage to present-day performers and performers who are part of the residents of Coney Island. Dancers, singers, rappers, musicians. The shadow figures at the bottom, they all are tied into real people who live there. The third mural I painted with the Young People of New York City Thrive, which is a group that brings art projects to very young people and teens. And this mural commemorated and celebrated Coney Island's, interest in technology at the beginning of the last century. The fourth mural that I painted celebrated the animals of Coney Island. The giant tortoises that my uncles talked about, the 3 horses representing the track, the black lion in the center, Black Sultan, who got killed during the Dreamland fire, and those wonderful horseshoe crabs that we still see today, even though they roamed with the dinosaurs. The sign on the right tells the title of the show in, I think, 32 different languages. It symbolizes the fact that Coney Island is a place where anybody can come. I am a university professor. I teach art at Fairleigh Dickinson University, and I volunteer with a lot of local groups. And that's what I use Wonder Wheel Park for. The Vuderis family has been so generous with my students, allowing us to come in and set up all over the park to draw. From baby kids to teens to college kids to senior citizens. I just cannot say how welcoming all the members of the family are when I show up with students. To me, the point of teaching is to show something, and I like to show them what I love. This drawing was done at the base of the Wonder Wheel during one of the first history days that's produced by Deno's Wonder Wheel Park. I love looking at parts of the wheel, looking at people through the wheel, sort of working on my vision. One example that I cherish of the kindness of the Vuderis family. I know a retired Marine, an elderly gentleman who just became blind, and last fall he graduated from his program, and he was allowed to do one thing with a guide, and he wanted to come to Coney Island. I couldn't meet him. I texted DJ Vuderis, and he and his family met this man and gave him an enjoyable afternoon and a wonderful memory. And I think in this crazy world that we live in, where we're all too busy and we're all wrapped up in our technology, the fact that Stacy and her wonderful family care enough to interact and intersect with their visitors, and would drop anything to, on just a text saying somebody's coming down, they want to see Coney Island. I think, to me, that's what it's about. So, happy birthday, Wonder Wheel. Thank you, Vuderis family. Thank you, Stacy Vuderis, for caring about history and caring about people and weaving us all together. Because at its best, Coney Island and the amusement area is a place where people intersect. Outside of the island, it's very rare to see that. But once people come down and they get on that wheel, they're united in wonder. So I hope you all stay home, stay safe, and when we get through this together, please come and say hello to us in Coney Island, take a ride on the wheel, celebrate its centenary, and maybe I'll get to see you at the base of the wheel as I'm drawing.